Hello everyone. I want to give a update on what's happening in Newtopia world. On these dates, I was going to be in Kiev for a film festival there in Ukraine, and Newtopia is also participating in the international competition program, which is really exciting. People in Ukraine can actually see my film there on a website, and I got some questions from people, and they, I got several messages from people that have watched the film and they really love it. It's so cool to have all these amazing commentaries, and also I'm able to comment back to people on the site, and there was a couple that asked me a question, why I chose to go back after the long period in Indonesia, where I stayed for almost 3 years, as you see in the film. So why I went back and what I did and all this is also quite a complex thing. So I thought that I would say something about this on my website, because several people actually asked me this question. And on the other side, at the documentary festival site, I can only speak in 60 seconds, and it's a bit too short. I try to keep it quick though, but I'm a city guy after all, and I missed my friends, my family, the convenience of living in Norway, and I decided as well that I can actually do something for these amazing people living in Mentawai, living a traditional lifestyle in Mentawai. I can actually do more for them from Norway than I can do in Indonesia, and of course, that's one part of it, and also my money was finished, and I was caught by the reality of having money to continue my endeavors as well, and my reason for going to Mentawai the second period when I came back there was actually to make a film. And I ended up staying much longer than I thought. I gained 3 languages from that period. I mean, all this stuff that can't be measured in money. But I had this plan of making a film, and I wanted to go back to Norway to complete my project, my filmmaking project. And I ended up in the documentary industry, something I had actually done before I left as well, because I got the first funding from the Norwegian Cultural Department in 2008. But when I came back, in a way I was in some kind of a luxury position, because I had a lot of material, almost 400 hours of material. And it was pretty unique, as you have seen, or maybe you will see in my film Newtopia. And getting a producer or people to work with wasn't that difficult. So I ended up applying for various funds, and I also got money from various sources to continue my project. The first person that actually really believed in my project was someone called Kalle Løken, which was the consultant for Mid-Norwegian Film Center at that time. So he gave me development funding for developing and looking into my material further. At that point I already had 2 like really rough cuts that I've edited myself, partially on solar panels down in or over in Indonesia. All right, so I realized that I'm really spacing out here into different issues that's not related to the original question, but I mean that's what I kept doing when I came to Norway, and I did engineering degree in renewable energy, because I decided the future of energy is in renewables, and that way I could also do something good for the society in Mentawai, and I got funding from the largest largest engineering organization here in Norway, NITO, NITO, and they gave me some money to start a solar panel project in Mentawai, a very small one, but it also made it possible for the people who wanted to continue their traditional life in the jungle and not move into the social villages that the government are pushing on, because they want these people out of the forest and into these villages and start to become a part of the money-making society, and they also get all these temptations. Some of these clans have got solar panels from the government funding options or NGOs, and I wanted to give some of the people who wanted to continue their traditional lifestyle solar panels so they could keep them in the jungle instead of having to move into these social villages to get these benefits. So I basically kept on making the film. I went to Indonesia very often, going back there, and now as well I have, even though the film is finished, I always have contact with Amampaksa. I spoke to him about over a week ago, and I'm really worried what will happen to him if the coronavirus spreads all the way up to the areas where he and his clan and the other clans are. Luckily it's not spread this far. Less than a week ago I spoke with the mayor of the island. He told me that they had the situation under control, and that it was about 3 people that had come to the island with the virus, and they are currently being treated. I suspect there are some numbers of infected people that they don't know about, so I'm following the situation closely, and if the coronavirus comes to all the way up to the inner regions of the island where Amampaksa lives, it can be a disaster, so I really hope that it's not happening, and that they manage to keep control over the situation. So what kept me living in Norway when I came back? Because actually, to be honest, I was going back to Indonesia again to continue living in Jakarta. Actually, I was offered a job there, really good job with good benefits, and I was curious. I wanted to try that, and for me, my soul is half Indonesian. Anyway, and I really love the Indonesian society on many levels, but I also came to love the Norwegian society and the system we are having here. So I'm kind of torn between 2 worlds, and I need both of them. But what happened was that when I came back here to Norway, I was diagnosed with a malignant melanoma. I got skin cancer, and this is came as a big surprise. I got a letter from my doctor in the mail. He had I checked up on like a mole here on my arm here, and he removed it, and he thought it was nothing to worry about, and it was no reason to remove it. And I said, I feel something is wrong with this, and he removed it, and later on I got a letter in the mail, and it said that I had a malignant melanoma, so I had to go for regular checkups once every third month for 4 years. And so I ended up staying in Norway actually for that reason, and also for, you know, the Norwegian society grew on me. Although when I came there after having spent so much time in Indonesia and in the jungle, coming back to Norway, it was really depressive, and I had a really bad time coming back, adjusting to this rigid society that Norway is. And yeah, it was a difficult time, but you know, soon I adapted, and it's amazing how easily we can adapt to our conditions. And now I decided that I will have my base here in Norway, and I can work out of my base here in Norway. And like I said, I will always go back there, and I have contact with Amampaksa regularly, and now I can actually call him. And I couldn't do that before. If I'm lucky, he's within range, so that's a cool thing. In some ways, it's also it's always a complex and dualistic thing what is happening with indigenous peoples all over the world, I think. Amampaksa is probably one of the last shamans and medicine men in Mentawai, or in the entire world actually, original shamans and medicine men. Now that they are connecting to this big grid of internet and widening their horizon of what's out there and how the world is working and so on, it's also changing their culture, and the newer generations are aspiring to other things than the previous generation. So as you saw in the film, also Amampaksa changed his perspective on this. When I met him the first time, he wanted his son to inherit the land and live like him, but now he wants to do everything to get his son to school. But it also demands having money to finance this, and this is also something I want to help Amampaksa with, so he can focus on his dream, which is living his life in the jungle and go back to this original lifestyle. And luckily I've been able to do that, or doing that through the sales of my film online. So I'm really happy about that, and yeah, I will post more about that project later. But hopefully that was answer to your question and a bit more. I always when I start talking about this, I can talk about it a very long time, and all the issues and topics in the film is so complex, and the sorting of the material and narrowing down the film. I mean, every documentary represents parts of the truth, because you cannot get everything in there. So yeah, I got some future projects coming up that I won't talk about now, but it's amazing with all the people that are writing me on Messenger and sending me mails, how they love the film, and how they are surprised about what they are seeing, because it's a totally different film from and about indigenous peoples than all the other films out there about issues related to indigenous culture. So thank you all for watching the film. I really appreciate it. If you can share the link, newtopiafilm.com, to your friends, to your family. I would be really, really happy. And yeah, I see you later. Take care, everyone, and bye bye.